Man, I am just ready for this season to end. But it is week 17.
Yeah.
We are getting closer. The tank is on for some teams, and the playoffs are almost on for a few others, and they're very much so on for even more. So yeah, it'll be another fun week. I don't feel like there are as many really amazing games in this week, but there will be something that jumps out and surprises us, and there will be a few that look good just right up front. So it'll be fun to get in.
Yeah.
You ready to do it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, man. Well, this is where the game. I'm Luke and that's Michael. We're doing our picks for Week 17. We're going to get started with it's Christmas week, so Merry Christmas to anyone and everyone. Hope you're having great holidays and get to spend some time with some family, and hopefully there'll be some good football games to go coincide with this. So, getting started, we got the Cowboys going to take on the Commanders. No playoff implications here. There are draft pick implications here, of course. You know, the Commanders, I think, right now rest at number 7, I think, in the draft if it were to happen today. We'll see how things go closing out. Cowboys are a bit later. They are out of the playoffs now, but we'll see. I don't know that they're in as desperate need to try to get up super high in the draft. We also know that the Commanders are missing some players going into this season. I think I heard that Josh Johnson at 39 is going to be the quarterback for the Commanders. And the Cowboys still have Dak Prescott. This will be a very interesting game if somehow the Cowboys lose. Who do you have in this one?
If Cowboys lose, I don't even know what would happen. But I mean, Josh Johnson's 39, and that's pretty wild. It'll be interesting to see. But part of me just feels like, well, he's going to have his first 300-yard passing game. But I mean, I do think Cowboys come out on top. Again, we do score most of the time, except for last week. We do score most of the time, a good number of points. I would assume the Commanders will have a problem getting in the getting in the end zone if they're in the red zone. We'll see how many long passes they make. But yeah, I'll take the Cowboys to win this one, but I don't want to overlook Washington, although I feel for them. They've had a rough go of it this season. So
Yeah.
I'll take Cowboys.
Yeah, they were riding really high coming into the season, and rightfully so. They were in the NFC Championship last year. So I still think they've got their guy in Jaden Daniels. They just had that cascade failure of injuries this year, and maybe some other things just didn't quite go their way. Because I think they're more than just a bunch of injuries from where they were last year. But we'll see moving into next year what they do. So it'll be interesting. Next, we've got, the Lions and the Vikings. The Lions fighting for their playoff lives at this point. The Vikings are out. And they also are out a J.J. McCarthy this week. I'm not entirely certain who's going to be starting for them. I was wondering if it was Carson Wentz. Maybe you know. But whoever it is, do you have them beating the Lions this week?
I mean, the short version is probably not. I mean, and solely on the quarterback situation, I really think this is a Super Bowl kind of caliber defense. And going against the Lions is going to be interesting in itself. I think this is probably somewhat closer than this, but it's clearly the Lions' game to lose. So yeah, we'll see what comes of it, but I'll stick with the Lions in this one. I'm hoping for this to be the best game of the day of these 3 games.
It could be. I mean, if nothing else, the Vikings defense is very good. So we'll see what they can pull off. But I did just confirm it while we were talking here. It's going to be Brosmer.
Yeah.
So not super inspiring, but we shall see. Next, we got what absolutely should have been the best game of the week, one of the best games of the year, a true Merry Christmas present to everyone. And it's turned into a mess. So we've got the Broncos riding high, playing incredibly well. Yes, they're coming off a loss, but their season's been just amazing. Going to play the Chiefs, who've had the opposite of an amazing season and whose season ended when Patrick Mahomes went down. Now, it's all just a mess there. Do the Chiefs have any chance, or should they even want a chance to beat the Broncos this week?
The short answer is probably no. I don't think they should, and I don't think they have any capacity to do so. One of the fascinating things, of course, when any quarterback goes down is seeing like, okay, well, what is the disparity, right, between 1 and 2? And the disparity is enormous here in the Chiefs. I think the Broncos would really have to work hard to throw this game away. I don't even see that that's – I think the defense could score enough points to win this game potentially. So, no, this is – I think absolutely in this 97-3 type disparity. So no, I'll stick with the obvious one here.
Yeah, I think it was Nick Wright pointed out that we're going to find out in these last few weeks just how much Patrick Mahomes was carrying this team through off-script plays and things like that, and it's coming true very quickly. All right, so we move out of that. We go into a nice little Saturday slate of games. We've got the Texans going to play the Chargers. Again, playoff implications abound. We've got the Texans, who have not lost since being 3-5. They're now 10-5, just killing it, doing a great job. Their defense is elite. Their offense is playing well, I'll just say. They seem to be stringing together a pretty solid run game, despite being on like their third or fourth running back. So good for them. And then you got the Chargers, who also have injuries all over the place. They did get Amarian Hampton back, and he played pretty well. We'll see if he gets more reps this week. But their defense is also the story of that team. I feel like Jesse Minter has them really killing it right now. So have winning this one. It's one of the better games of the week, I feel like.
Yeah, I do. I agree. This is not one I do not want to miss this one. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think this is going to be very close between these two teams and the way we've been playing. I'm going to give the edge to the Chargers based on just how they're beating teams. You know, the Texans had that kind of questionable win in a way over the Raiders, where that one felt a little too close to a team that can't help falling over themselves. The Chargers, you know, the Cowboys are not good, but they're probably a little better than the Raiders on some days. And they clubbed us pretty good. And the way both these defenses play is so rough. This could be quite an entertaining game. So I'll take the Chargers in this one, but probably going to be a pretty close game. I don't think there's a lot of room for error.
Yeah, I could see it going that way. I think I'd pick the Texans, oddly enough.
I think the momentum's there.
It's close, but at the same time, they played each other last year in the playoffs, and the Texans just beat the snot out of them. It was like 32-12. And we'll see. Maybe it could just be one of those matchup problems. But I think I'd take the Texans just for that reason. I think outside of that, both teams are playing at a very similar level. So I'll be happy with whoever wins. I'm impressed by both teams. So it was a good one. All right. And then hopefully we've got another good game following that up. We'll see. Again, Ravens still fighting. But, how much more fight do they have? The Steelers coming off a nice, impressive win that they need to now follow up with. And they do not control their own destiny. So they've got to win this game over a somewhat, I feel like, still reeling Packers team. Losing Micah Parsons and then losing the North to the Bears. It's been a rough little go of it for Green Bay. Do the Ravens have any shot at upsetting the Packers here?
I think the answer is absolutely they should. Jordan Love is, he was still having concussion symptoms. I don't even know that he's cleared. I was trying to see real quick if I could find, is he cleared, because Malik is the one who played in the half the game, right, against the Bears. So, and he's the one who had the touchdown. Once again, Malik comes in and looks really good. Now, do I think that Malik can win this game? Yes, I do. I actually am really, really high on Malik. But we really haven't seen, number one, we really haven't seen tons of Malik starting games. Of what we've seen, I think he's won like 4 out of 5 games or something like that. The other thing about that is just, under this type of pressure where they cannot really afford to lose any ground. So, I still think this is the Packers game to lose. But the Ravens, I think, is an achievable game against the Packers, especially if Jordan isn't able to play. Even if he is able to play, I'm a little bit concerned about how healthy he will be, how prepped he will be. So, yep.
So,
but I'll take the Packers. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll stick with the Packers. I don't think this is an 80-20 kind of game. I think this is like 60-40 until we see what really walks out on the field for the Packers.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's a good one. It'd be nice to have that slate. We'll probably hear more about Jordan Love either Thursday or Friday, today being Wednesday for anyone who's wondering. So we'll see. Then we'll talk about the Steelers, who the Ravens need some help from if they want a shot at getting in the playoffs. Steelers now control their playoff destiny. They've got a nice game here against the Browns. It is a division game, and so you can't ever take those too lightly, of course. But we'll see. The Browns, of course, this is the week where if Myles Garrett's going to pass the record, it kind of needs to be this week so that people don't say, oh, he had an extra game. So if he's going to do it, Aaron Rodgers will be the guy, which will be very interesting. So who do you have winning here?
Yeah, I think that it should be very, very interesting. The Steelers came off that convincing win against the Lions, where the thing that I always kind of expect to see of Aaron Rodgers is those few quarterbacks when they're down in the fourth quarter. That's like the best thing they could ever have, kind of a thing, right? Is they do best in those types of moments. Just them having to duke it out was really kind of fun to watch with the Lions. I mean, this is definitely their game to lose. Shadur, I think, he's getting all the experience and everything, but he's making mistakes. All the mistakes that you would have liked for him to have made maybe in week 3. Now he's making those here at the end of the season. So this is definitely a Steelers game to lose.
Yeah, the Steelers, I don't personally call that last game convincing. Their offense played really well against Detroit, but they had those weird offensive pass interference calls at the end of that game, and they had some things go their way. But, I mean, it is what it is. And on the other side of this, the Browns will be very interesting going into the offseason with Shadur. I kind of liked a little bit of what I've seen, but right now they represent the 3rd overall pick in the draft. So if they were looking to move off of him and get another quarterback, they theoretically could. Yeah. Well, here, I guess it's a few months away, but they will know what their options are pretty soon. So it'll be an interesting game. I would pick the Steelers as well. Of course, I'm rooting for the Browns for a draft position for some other stupid team. Yeah. But next, we've got the Jags going to play the Colts. The Jags playing incredibly well right now, coming off that great win over Denver. They continue to be the very complete team that has no weakness. And maybe not this one juggernaut kind of strength like the Browns defense or, the Cowboys offense or what have you, but they are just complete everywhere. And they can have any of those units step up and beat you in a given, any given Sunday kind of a thing. So going against the Colts are fun to watch because of Phillip Rivers, of course, and his, it's just entertaining to watch. And he's still playing pretty well. Like he was not the problem this last week. It just, the defense just had a bad game.
Holding up. Yeah.
So we'll see who wins this game.
Oh, I think the Jaguars are an absolute juggernaut right now. I think they've scored like the average score points they're putting up is like 33 in their last like 7 games or something like that. Yeah. So they're finding ways to score touchdowns. Yes, some of those games are gaudy games by Trevor Lawrence all of a sudden, who at moments anyway seems like he's figured out how to put it all together with a bunch of guys that like we know a couple of the names there, but like who the heck are these people and where do they Parker Washington, right? Is like, like it's not one guy. It's kind of guys and getting it done. It's kind of fun to watch. Colts, again, going back to what you were saying, this should have been such a phenomenal game, right? And it still should be fun. But this would have been a really phenomenal game, I think, with Daniel and just like all the pieces still in place on both sides, duking it out here at the end of the season. I think this is the Jaguars' game to lose. They should win this game fairly straightforward and kind of close things in this division pretty handily, I would think here. Between this one, I think they play the Titans for the last game. So kind of their last milestone to get over here. So, yeah, I think the Jaguars win.
Yeah, they should. The path is in front of them. They still have, I think, an outside chance of moving up to like the 1 seed, even theoretically. Yeah, so
if the others lose
good luck to them. It'd be kind of crazy if that happened because of who the teams over them still have to play. But crazy things do happen occasionally. But this will be fun because the Jags are fun to watch right now, and then the Colts have Phillip Rivers, and he is just playing just all guts. So I'm loving watching that. This should be an oddly entertaining game on Sunday. So. All right. Then we got the Bucs. We got a Florida matchup here. We got the Bucs going to play the Dolphins. Buccaneers, you always want to say about them, well, in the last 5 or 6 years, it's like, well, but their offense works really well. Their offense doesn't really work that well anymore. Yeah. So it's weird. I'm not really sure what they are. There are teams certainly still fighting for the NFC South. They've got a solid shot. The Panthers have, I believe, a pretty tough matchup this week. And so we'll see. but they are just not putting it together the way you expect them to put it together. For a team that has a lot of their stars coming back and playing right now, they're still putting up like 20 points. So we'll see. They need to figure it out, and they need to figure it out fast. The Dolphins on the other side of this are beyond reeling. They are full on imploding, it would seem. And they're just, I think Dolphins fans, kind of like Cardinals fans, are just waiting for the end of the season and for what feels like inevitable changes. However, before that, we've got a game on Sunday. Who's going to take this win?
Well, I think on paper, as you were just saying, like, man, the Dolphins are showing all signs that they do not want to win this game. And the Bucs, as you were pointing out, like the time you want to start getting your Mike Evans back is like a couple weeks before the playoffs and all of that. Now here he is, but just nothing works right. Bucky Irving's out. Everything's there. They even put up numbers. They're not in the red zone effectively right now, or not enough. And they just haven't figured out how to make those, turn those into wins in these close games. And it's not a good time of the season for them to be at that point. So I'm not convinced by the Bucs. And on the Dolphins side, Quinn Ewers comes in, and it's like, okay, who is that? And what is that? And with Quinn, I think that the thing that concerns me for the Dolphins fans who are hoping to lose out is that a guy like Quinn Ewers, he wants to win. Like I think this is his time in the sun. So I think he's going to come out here and with any luck, frankly, be a Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, let's go. Like if it goes horrible, it goes horrible. But I'm going for it. Yeah. And I kind of hope that. And frankly, I think the Bucs still need that. They need to win, but I think they need to figure things out against a challenging opponent. I think the Dolphins will be. I think this is a much, much closer to 50-50 game with the way the Bucs have been playing. I'm really tempted to pick the Dolphins here as like my odd, like here's one. Looking at the games coming up, I'm gonna save my underdog for one a little lower down, but I'll take the Bucs. But I'm really tempted to take the Dolphins here because I think that they have some things going right now. It's just Quinn Ewers is a real wild card in that game.
Yeah, that would be quite the statement if he came out and won this game. It's not like beating the Bills or something, but still, and no one's expecting them to win. That team still has some weaponry on there that teams have to take seriously. Jalen Waddle can go off in certain games. Obviously, Devon Achane can go off any week. So we'll see. It could be an entertaining game. And again, the Bucs may play down to their opponent just enough to let the Dolphins in the door. We'll see. Again, we might get an oddly entertaining game out of that one. So we'll see. As for the team you're picking as your dark horse, I'm hoping it's the Jets. But I kind of doubt it's the Jets. We got the Patriots going to play the Jets. Patriots, they are not the 1 seed right now, but they're still, they're going to the playoffs and they're playing well. Despite what people say about weak schedule and all this, I still like a lot of what they're doing, regardless of the teams they're doing it to. Yes, there's the stat that I saw someone put out that the Giants have as many wins over teams that are over 500 as the Patriots do, which is a wild thing to say. But regardless, you still have to beat the other teams, and they have. So kudos. Then you got the Jets, again, reeling. Justin Fields has been shut down for the year. I think it's still Brady Cook, if memory serves, who's going to be starting from them this week. He has not inspired tons of confidence, but then again, he was a third-string quarterback, so he's not really supposed to be in this position. Do you give the Jets any shot here, or is this just Patriots getting kind of back on track?
Well, I think going back to that interesting stat, you and I had been kind of bringing it up occasionally, is like, the Patriots have such great momentum, but who they played, like, where am I getting that convincing feeling from, or lack of? But that, as you point out, like they beat sub 500 teams, and the Jets define sub 500. I think that the Patriots walk through here without much of a problem. I also think Vrabel in that game against the Bills, they at halftime maybe took their foot off the pedal a bit. I would hope / expect that they don't do that again this season. So I expect the Patriots to walk out of there with a win. Yeah. I think they need to walk out of there with a win. So yeah, I'll stick with them.
They should be. They're in the playoffs at this point, but they could theoretically get chased down by the Bills. And on the other side of this, they could hypothetically catch the Broncos if the Broncos slip up. So they still have a lot to play for. They need to, like you say, not take their foot off the gas. And for the Jets, you're on the home stretch. We're almost there, and we'll know what the draft is. We can start talking about offseason stuff, which will be more fun for teams like the Jets and the Cardinals and the Saints and the Titans, who are our next game. So we got the Saints going to play Titans. It's kind of it's one of the tank bowls. It's not the tank bowl of the week, but it's one of the tank bowls of the week. Neither fan base probably wants their team to win particularly, but I would think if one team did want to win more, it would be the Titans because they might have a quarterback. Yeah, I think that they've got enough of a quarterback that they ought to try to build around him. The Saints might have a few more questions there. I like a little bit of what I've seen from Tyler Shuck. The guy's a baller. Like the guy's once he's got a vision. He's got some pop in his throws and things like that. He's got some confidence. The question now is, does he have the discipline? Does he have the skill set? Is he actually good enough? And they'll figure out more of that most likely going into next season as they build around him and polish his skill set and so on and so forth. So both teams do have fun questions going into the offseason. But for this game, I would put this as more of a pick 'em, like a 50-50 kind of draw. The Titans are playing a bit better lately. I know that they only have 3 wins, but I think that they've played a bit better. Like they played fairly well at the beginning of the season and challenged some teams, and then they dipped down and were kind of bad for a while, and then they've come back up in the most recent games, not winning all of them, of course, but just playing a bit better, finding a little bit of juice here and there. So who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, it is interesting. I think the Saints, in particular, when I look at the Saints, it's their defense that I find is actually a pretty decent defense. I don't think their defense kind of deserves to be on on this team, right? With the offense that even the parts that should work don't work right. Like they don't all work right. So I think that'll be a real challenge for Cam. But Cam's coming out of that game against Kansas City. Which obviously Kansas City from an offensive side, which is lost, right? But from the defensive side, which Kansas has a pretty solid defense, Cam walked through that pretty well, had a couple touchdowns, 220 yards passing, all of that, had a lot. His completion percentage was also very high. So yeah, I think if he can take that and evolve it into this game, I think they'll come out with a win here, especially if he can get help from his supporting cast in the running game. They ran 40 times in that game against the Chiefs and averaged over 4 yards a carry for each one of in that. If they can put that kind of combination and get it working against New Orleans, which I don't think will be easy, but if they can do it, I think they'll come out. I'm going to pick the Titans at home to continue the progression of Cam Ward.
Yeah, that will be fun. Anytime the Titans can beat a team that isn't the Cardinals and make that that win over us look a little less embarrassing, good thing. Yeah. So we shall see. All right, next we got the Seahawks going to play the Panthers, and I'm hoping your trend of picking the underdog continues. The Seahawks, they had a weird game against the Rams last week, a very impressive win. But also, I mean, kudos to the Rams, who we'll get to later for putting, Matt Stafford had 450 yards, Puka Nacua had 225, and yes, there were overtime stats there. So as much as their defense got figured out for a week or was unable to just stop the opponent dead, their offense went toe-to-toe with the other team, whoever it was, on a week when their defense was not really playing up to their normal, usual dominant selves. I think they're playing at an elite level right now. You got the Panthers, who technically control their division right now, but only by a game over Tampa. Yeah. And then they've got this game that they have to deal with. So who do you have winning here? Do the Panthers have any shot, or is this just Seahawks rolling?
I mean, I think the Panthers I do think the Panthers have a shot. It's kind of funny, right? You've got the top 10, probably 5th or 6th best passing offense in the Seahawks against one of the best rushing offenses in the Panthers. I think the Seahawks, if I was going to bank then on defense to counter that, talking about matchup, I think the Seahawks have a better, counter to the run game than the Panthers have for covering the Seattle passing game. I would love to see the Panthers pull off a win here, and they they're going to play. I don't know what desperation is the right word, but they're a young team, and they're going to play this one very, very hard. So yeah, I think that they're going to come in and play a competitive game. But I see the Seahawks may be one of the top three teams in the NFL. So I'll stick with the Seahawks as much as it pains me to say, but I'll stick with them.
Yeah, I would have to do that myself as well. As much as I think the Panthers may have a shot, I'd love to see them get their run game going. If they can get that two-headed monster really rolling, I think that'd take a lot of pressure off. Yeah. But I mean, the Seahawks right now are the 1 seed in the NFC, so they're going to be wanting to win all these games closing out. And I don't see there's no real reason for them to be taking their foot off the gas. So it should be the Seahawks. Next, we've got the Cardinals going to play against the Bengals. My Cardinals, and I think most fans would agree, we are just, come on, let's get this season over with. The Bengals are mostly there as well, except I think they're a little scared of the offseason because of some of the Joe Burrow talk that's been happening. I personally don't think Joe Burrow's going anywhere. I think he's just frustrated by a really hard season. But yeah. I think he'll get it. He'll find his spirits again in the offseason. He's also approaching 30, which can have something of a mental effect on a guy, so on anyone. So we'll see. But I don't think Joe Burrow's going anywhere. As for this game, I just initially don't really see much of a shot that we have. The Bengals aren't playing like a juggernaut right now or anything. It's weird that this is a 3-win team, playing against a 5-win team. And the 5-win team is favored 97% to 3%. So, but it's weird, not just that exists, but that it feels right. So the Cardinals have not won since they played Dallas all those months ago. Who do you have winning this one?
Thanks a lot for that.
Yep. Anytime.
Yeah, I mean, even if both these teams were healthy, I'm not sure that would be, hey, this is that would be a 50-50 game per se, with what we've seen right now. But I think the Cardinals are pretty banged up still. And the Bengals, while you pointed out, like, they're inconsistent. They're not always finding ways to win. They did drop 45 points the other day on Miami. So they definitely have the capability. It's much more likely that they're going to be the ones doing that, I think, than Arizona. So I will stick with the Bengals on this one.
Yeah. Sadly, I say sadly. I mean, it just is what it is at this point. The Cardinals now, the only thing they're racking up is injuries. So this last week we lost 2 more players to what would have been season-ending injuries if this was week 1, with Walter Nolan with an ACL and Garrett Williams with an Achilles. And these aren't just, good, young, promising players. These are good players. And they are a part of our defense that isn't playing well as a whole anyway. And they are some of the strengths of it. Now, Garrett Williams is probably the best corner we had. And Walter Nolan was not the best tackle we had, because right now that's still Calais, but he was learning to play and he was a difference maker. If you've watched the show for a while, we talked about him in some games. Like, man, he had a sack, he had a pass deflection, he had a tackle for loss. Man, he just had a little bit of everything.
An interception and a touchdown. Yeah.
He's a mark. And I'm confident he'll come back and be healthy and be a really good player for us. Yeah. But as it relates to this game, I think that Joe Burrow should be licking his chops. Just avoid Will Johnson, and you should absolutely destroy us. So we'll see. I won't be able to help myself but watch it, but I agree. It should be the Bengals all the way. So then we have the actual Tank Bowl I alluded to earlier. We've got the 2 current 2-loss teams playing against each other in just what's going to be an ugly game. We heard recently Brock Bowers has been ruled out. He's just been put on IR, so he won't play for the last 2 games. The Giants, of course, have all the injuries that they have, but they still have Jackson Dart playing. I can't imagine that either fan base is really looking to win this game, to be completely honest, but someone has to. So who's it going to be?
Yeah, I think on this one, I think that I would take I look at the Giants and look at who they played last, and the Raiders. The Raiders played Houston last. They had that game where they were very close at the very end of it. I don't know, very close, maybe stretching a little bit, but this is a game, and it's like, man, this is a real playoff team. The Giants are also always right in their games with whoever they play. It doesn't matter the caliber of the team. So you could go back and forth over this one either way. I could find plenty of reasons to pick the Raiders, although I think you've already outlined the number one reason not to pick them, which is Brock Bowers. But I think I'm going to pick the Giants and trust Jackson Dart to find a way to get them over the finish line in this one. But, as we were talking earlier, it's like no matter who wins this game, somebody's going to be upset because I don't think the general fan bases want either of these teams to win because the only thing they've got to really play for right now is number one. So yeah, we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah, I'm interested in it, of course, though I would need both either team to lose out for it to really affect the Cardinals. It could still be interesting to change how it shapes the draft and who might trade down rather than just sticking and picking. So it's all just about draft implications, sadly. So we'll see. And then we've got a game that I'm just kind of confused that it's this lopsided. So we got the Eagles going to play the Bills, and the Bills are heavily favored here, 85-15 percentage. So I know the Bills are playing really well right now, and the Eagles are not dominating, but they're certainly not playing badly. So maybe walk me through this one and why you think it is this way and who you think is actually going to win.
Yeah, I think there's a number of factors here. I don't pretend to know why they have it this broad of a disparity here, but I think that there are a couple of straightforward things we could take into consideration. One is, what are the Eagles really playing for? Like, how motivated are they and willing to risk things to get this win against the Bills, right? Because Dallas is certainly not going to catch them, nor is anyone else. They're also not in any danger of winning out the NFC, I don't think. So, there's some. I think that they would like to win this game. I just don't think there's as much of a weight on them to win, whereas the Bills still have a potential chance of overtaking the New England Patriots, and I think they're reinvigorated by their game last week. So I think that the other thing to take into consideration here is that the Bills have scored around 100 more points than the Eagles have this season. They've also given up close to 100 more points as well. So there's a lot of different ways of analyzing and taking a look at that. But Josh Allen and James Cook on the offense just find ways to get it done. And I think that's a big deal. I think it's the weight of this game in terms of Buffalo. I'd also be intrigued to see what the weather is supposed to be like because it is at the Bills Stadium. But I think that may also potentially play a bit of a factor as well. But and I will take the Bills on this one, but I think this will be a pretty close game, actually.
Yeah, I think that the Eagles defense is too good for this to be this big blowout of anything. So I will say if the Eagles get it's kind of the thing now for them. It's like last year was a certainty pretty much, but this year, if they get Saquon rolling, like if they get him 120 yards or something like that, or 150 scrimmage yards, they've got a really good chance of winning this game. Other teams have just really sold out to stop him from doing that this year, and so it hasn't happened as often. So we'll see. And it's late in the year, and oftentimes run games really step up. So we'll see if this is one of them. We shall see. All right. Next, closing out Sunday, we've got the Bears going to play the Niners. Probably the game of the week. The Bears, I believe, have clinched to the North. They certainly clinched a playoff spot. They're playing really well. Their run game works better than anyone, I think, really was expecting coming into the season. That cool, though. Guys with fun names. Manungai is fun to say. The Niners on the other side of this are probably the most slept-on team in the NFL. They're fighting for the 1 seed. If they win this week, I think if they win out, they technically will win the NFC West. And they've got the Bears and I think the Seahawks closing out. So that'll be a really tough test, but they have played well in their division. They don't seem to care if you're a good team or a bad team. They are just playing really well right now, despite all the injuries we've talked about kind of for the entire year. The main two, of course, being Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, but they have other injuries as well. They're still relying a lot on Christian McCaffrey. We'll see. Hopefully that can, hold together, as Han Solo would say. We'll see how that goes. The Bears on the other side of this would be a good game, I feel like, for Caleb Williams to have something of a more prolific passing stats. The Niners, for all the things that they do well, their defense is vulnerable, I would say. So I could see this being a shootout. Who do you have winning?
Yeah, this one should be really, really good game. Really good game. I think, it's a big game for Chicago against the caliber of team the 49ers are. I think if the Bears pull this one off, it is going to be a real validator for them as a competitor heading into the playoffs. I think the 49ers are playing really good football. I think they're extraordinarily well coached. I think that it's a bigger achievement for the Bears to win this than the Niners. Now, with that being said, I think this is a bigger game for the 49ers in terms of how this affects them going into the playoffs. So I think that both these teams are going to be going hard at it during this game. I'm going to pick the 49ers, and it's mostly just I think this is a very 50-50 game. One could say it's split, would be home field advantage. But the other is I feel like so many games come down to halftime adjustments and these small micro adjustments as games go on. My trust level with the 49ers coaching staff to make the appropriate adjustment is probably second to none in the NFL right now. So I'll take the 49ers, but I really feel like this one's close to a 55-45 kind of split here, rather than and this is fairly even sort of, but it's going to be very close, and I won't be shocked if the Bears pull this one off.
Yeah, same. I think if this was year 2 or year 3 and they were more settled into Ben Johnson there with the Bears and all that, and they had their routine of how they make halftime adjustments and things like that, just all those little things. If they were more in place, I think that might even tip the scales a little bit. Super impressed by what he's done. And a quick correction to what I said earlier, they are absolutely locked up in the North. So for some reason, they still had 10 wins. They have 11. My bad. So yeah, it should be a good game. I think I would agree with you and pick the Niners here, but it's like you say, it's really close. So we'll see. I'm hoping for a shootout. I don't know why, but for some reason my brain is hoping for a shootout there. All right, then wrapping up week 17, we've got the Rams going to play the Falcons. The Rams are still fighting for the 1 seed. They've still got a shot. They've got a pretty easy schedule closing out as they close against the Falcons and then the Cardinals. So they, if you're expecting them to win out their last 2 games, you're probably well within reasonable expectations there. I would love it, obviously, if somehow the Falcons pull this one off, as they have the Rams pick going into next year, or reverse that. The Rams have the Falcons pick going into next year, and the worse that pick gets, the happier I'll be. But this doesn't seem like a game where the odds are in their favor in Hunger Games style. So who do you have winning here?
Yeah, I think I'm more in the hoping that this is just a decent game. I think the Rams are in desperation mode as far as their need to win this type of game. Now, maybe that finally causes them to do the one thing that they've really struggled with, which is if they make mistakes, they find ways to lose, maybe more so than the average team. The Falcons in their game last week, like the right pieces still didn't seem like they were really working. We didn't see Drake kind of come in and have a real presence in the game and all of that. I think they're going to be better this week. So I guess I'm hoping that this is a competitive football game rather than the Rams just rolling over somebody. But I think this is the Rams game to lose. Absolutely. I would stick with the Rams on this one. I think the Falcons have the pieces to beat them. They just have very rarely put their pieces working in the right direction against good teams. So, so we'll see how that one plays out. But they will need the Rams to make some mistakes for them to pull this one out, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember right now which direction it goes. So, like, Kirk Cousins has this thing about playing on Thursday night, I think, where he's, like, nearly undefeated, and Monday night where he can't win. And so I'm like, this does not bode well for that. So it's also an incredibly difficult matchup. If somehow he breaks that trend and has one of those weird Kirk Cousins games where he just can't miss, almost like a Ryan Fitzpatrick game that we would have called from back in the day, they could put up a real fight here. And the Falcons defense can be quite feisty. They've got some good pass rush, but it's one of those where it's like, man, if the Seahawks couldn't get after them, I don't know that I asked the Falcons to do it. So we'll see. Hopefully they put up a fight, as you say, but that makes sense to call it that way. So, all right, well, then let's wrap this thing up. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Week 17 has some fun games in it. We are coming to a close. I'm looking forward to the offseason so the Cardinals can answer a bunch of their questions. I imagine Dallas is ready to kind of just sweep this season under the rug so that they can get on with their lives and hopefully get back to being contender in the future. I'm sure they always have interesting offseasons. So we're looking forward to talking about the offseason of both those teams. But in the meantime, we will see you again. I hope that you all have a fantastic holiday season. Please give us a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And join us again sometime. Let us know in the comments what you think of your team, how they're going to do, if they're going to win, lose, all that good stuff. Until then, again, stay warm. Merry Christmas and have a great day.